Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Belgian Football Podcast. We've had a little break, but we are finally back to go through all things ahead of the 2023-2024 season. It does seem a little bit ridiculous to be saying that already, but hey, that is what it is. Time has definitely been flying. As always, I'm joined by Scott and Joris. We signed them up again for another season with an option for another year as well. Perhaps we'll see how they get on this time round. But guys, how are you doing? And have you had a nice summer break, if it's even felt like one since we last spoke?
Wow, is it really that time of the season again? New players, new coaches, new expectations, and new kits as well. I'm great. I'm really delighted to be back. And really looking forward to getting stuck into this because this is always one of our most highly anticipated episodes of the entire season.
Yeah, and even though I will get a reminder about it really soon, I am better now than I was at the back end of last season. But let's have a throwback soon. I guess we'll see that with the first teams we will be talking about. And just already a little disclaimer to take that out of the way. It's the 20th of July when we record this. So anything that happens after that date, we are sorry, listeners. We'll keep you up to date through our socials. But whatever we say here, that's a huge disclaimer. This is as of the 20th of July. Things that happen afterwards can change our opinions, which we will spread later.
Yeah, exactly. We can talk about those later in the year, and even by the end of August, who knows if our opinions would have changed. But we'll probably kind of talk a little bit about teams that we think need to do a little bit more business, and if they do business X, then that could, make them into a better position. So what we are going to do is we're just going to kind of go through team by team as we usually do, based off of the final table from last season, rather than the alphabetical, because the alphabetical is always different depending on who's writing it. So we're going to stick with the league table from last year, but it's kind of alphabetical in the sense that we're going to start with a team that begins with A, which is of course Antwerp, the side that won the league last season, first time since 1957. Not a huge amount of kind of transfer business. One player that's come in that we knew was coming in midway kind of towards the back end of the season is Jakob Ondrejka from Elfsborg for about 1.5 million euros. They've also gone out and spent a hefty amount, rumoured to be around about 6 million euros on George Inelikena from Amiens, Nigerian striker. He's only 16 years old, scored in his debut in a friendly as well, so he's definitely one to watch. Joanna Kirk, he's coming back as well, kind of taking advantage of that, the situation in Ukraine and Russia, to be able to come back for another season. And they've also brought in Senil Ammons from Club Brugge, the goalkeeper. He's only about 20 years old. He's come in on a free. In terms of outgoings for Antwerp, they've lost William Pacho, that was known, about 9 million to Frankfurt. He's going to be a big miss. Peter Gerkins, he's kind of dropped away to the fringes. He's left to join Ghent for free. Koji Miyoshi, he's left to go to Birmingham for free. And on our little sheets, Joris has even added Scott's favourite next to him as a little description, which I thought was quite nice. Alexis Dessart is back with Molenbeek. Faris Haroun has finished his career. Victor Fischer as well, only 29 years old, but he has finished his career. He was on loan at AEK Stockholm. He was with Stockholm, but unfortunately, just the injuries have mounted up and he's decided to call time on his career. Pierre Duomo, he's gone to Molenbeek alongside Alexis Dessart. Calvin Stengs has gone back to his parent club, but Antwerp are very keen to bring him back. Same with Mandela Keita, who's gone back to Leuven. They're still kind of working on those two. So obviously, as you always said, disclaimer, they aren't there yet, but we know they want them to be there. A couple of players back from loan, Mikkel Frey as well, although it's expected that he'll leave. Bigger Vestrata, Frank Boyer and Dorian Desolil. Again, you could see any three of those guys going. So that's kind of the overview of Antwerp. Scott, I'm going to hand over to you first. Do you like the business they've done? Do you think they're missing a little bit? What's your kind of overall assessment at the very moment when you're looking at the defending champions?
Well, it's been pretty quiet on the Antwerp front, actually. I've been surprised by how quiet, actually. They've got a big European campaign to look forward to, hopefully. Hopefully that gets off the ground for them big time, as much for them as for us. Mark Van Bommel this week obviously has been talking about a couple of things that I thought were really interesting. He was saying that he doesn't feel that Antwerp are can consider themselves to be a top club quite yet, that they have to go out and prove that they're that by challenging once again for the title and for the cup, and to do things like that consistently over a period of time, which I thought was quite a brave thing to say after their spectacular season last season. But I think they're quite calm about things internally. You know, he was asked about, you know, the relative quietness of their activity as well in the same press conference, and he did actually say that, you know, they've got a number of targets, they know where they want to strengthen, and that they're not really panicking about that at the moment. I think from a domestic point of view, I'm not sure they're stronger at the moment than they were, say, this time last year, you know, and I have this slight concern at the moment that they might get found out, in the sense that nobody was able really to compete with the way that they played last season particularly effectively. But I feel that they're going to have to mix up and put, you know, add something new into the mix this coming season. Because I don't think they'll be able to kind of cruise along in the way that they did last season, because I think people know kind of what to expect from them at the moment. And this is obviously where there is that concern with their transfer business. You know, they haven't really added anything that suggests we're going to see anything new in terms of the dynamic. So I think they need more if they're going to have a season that's anything like the one that they had last year. But I'm confident that they're going to be, you know, a solid playoff one side, and if they can avoid the injuries that they did last season as well, then there's no reason to expect they couldn't by their standards have yet a very good season again. But they definitely need more at the moment, I would say.
Yeah, they've only brought in players that are playing more up front, and at the back they might need some, especially with Pacho leaving, of course, and Engels injury issues, and yeah, they definitely need someone there, at least one, I believe. Okay, they did get Desolé back. Maybe he can play a role in the first weeks of the season, but as Ben said, also all four of the players that came back from loan I would expect them to leave, not in the least, because all of their contracts end next season anyway. So if they want to get something out for them out of it, then now is the time to get at least some money for them. Also, there might be some players that actually really want to leave. I believe Michael Frey definitely falls under that category. We will see that on the attacking front they did strengthen already. So strengthen is to be seen, but they did bring some reinforcements and replacements for players that left. We know they are trying to bring at least Stengs and also Keita in one way or another, or two other loan players that they had last season. But it looks like these are difficult negotiations with the respective teams, that they definitely need some more business. But on the other hand, not that much has changed maybe. But I believe, like with many teams, we'll say that again a lot this episode, that their business isn't done yet, but the core of the squad, it should be strong enough to carry them through these first weeks, and let's hope that they are ready before their Champions League playoff games. No reason to believe they will have a huge drop off from last season. I think they will still be comfortably in playoff one, and probably also fighting for the title again. If I would have to predict already, which I don't. With the current state of things, I think that's not a bold thing to say.
I mean, yeah, you've both got a week today to get those prediction tables. As long as you get them before the start of the first game, Union against Anderlecht, then we're all good, because it has to be before the first game, so we can be terribly, terribly wrong. No, I agree. I think, yeah, they do need another central defender. I don't think you can go into the season with just Alderweireld, Van den Bosch and Desailly. Obviously, Bjorn Engels is there, but like whether he's going to get on the pitch, he's been injured for ages. It's been a bad injury, so they definitely need him, or you're kind of sticking Richie in there. I'm excited about Ondrejka, just kind of like hearing from the guys over at the Nordic Football Podcast and kind of stuff that's come out about of Elfsberg and kind of seeing his kind of like numbers and stuff. So I'm quite looking forward to see what he brings to the table, because they've been one of the better teams in the Allsvenskan this season, and he was obviously still playing there until quite recently. So one of those players that comes in from the Scandinavian leagues and can kind of hit the pre-season in season form, if you know what I mean. So he's going to be an interesting one. And then just another one, Stenny Lammens as well. He may suddenly find himself as the number one option if Jean Boutet goes, because they've said they're willing to let Jean Boutet go to kind of finance some other moves. So they're clearly quite confident in Lammens if that's kind of the reading of what kind of a lot of the papers and that are saying, that he could kind of step in there. So yeah, definitely interesting to see how they tweak a few things. But I think I agree on the whole with you guys. They'll be up there, but there's still a little bit of work to do. But like, yeah, I feel like we're going to say that about a lot of teams. The side that finished second last year, obviously Joris remembers them. That one was Genk. They've brought in a couple of players as well. They've kind of, I know Joris is probably going to shoot us for saying this, but maybe they're looking for the next Gift Orban by spending lots of money on a player from the Norwegian leagues. They brought in Christopher Bonsu Ba from Sarpsborg for around about a ridiculously good name. Ghanaian winger, only 18. He comes in from Salzburg for about 5.2 million euros. A name we kind of know a lot more about, Gambian winger Ali Federa. They won the race to sign him from Zulte Waregem, around about 4 million as well. Hendrik van Kronberger, he comes in to, I guess, play second fiddle to Van der Voort and then maybe take his place when Van der Voort does leave in 2024 to go to Leipzig. And he also bought in Joris's namesake, Joris Kayembe from Charleroi for an undisclosed but not a massive fee. In terms of players out, Abua Kouassi, he's finally left on permanent deal. He's gone to Aluka. Ali Samata has gone back to Fenerbahce, and then from Fenerbahce, he's travelled across to Greece, and he is now with PAOK. Joris, obviously, we have to start with you on this one, and we know kind of the position that you're probably going to want strengthening is that striker position, because at the moment it's just Tolu, and I don't think you want to be going into the season with poor Tolu as your only striker, do you?
No, definitely not. And I'm already worried about that, not just for the season, but as of the 20th of July, so today, it's only 5 days left before the first European game for Genk as well. It looks like the new striker, whoever that will be, will not be there. This is really a crucial game. These two legs are really crucial for hopefully launching it into a really good season, or well, maybe make things worse and then start on a bad track. Anyway, I'm a bit worried because the attacking reinforcements is not there yet, or it's looking like it's not going to be there before the first European game. After already having struggled over the past few seasons, even maybe with the striking position, except of course Onuachu, but his replacement or his potential replacements, you would think they had enough time for that to arrange that, or maybe bring someone in while he was still here to later on take his place. But sadly, I'm really a bit both worried and slightly angry even that position still hasn't filled. This worried, and especially this angry part can still change if they bring in someone and the waiting it shows off that it's been worth it. But if not, then yeah, it will only get worse. What else to say? Christopher Bonsuva, not only a really great name but also great hair. I saw the social media team already play with with showing him from the back, or him or Preciado. I'm actually not sure, but that was the whole question. Which of the two was it? We always talk about Preciado and his beautiful hair, and he definitely nice hair also goes for this one. He seems already well integrated based on these social media things as well. We'll see how he fares. There's a lot of quality and at least quantity on the wings now as well. That's a position where they definitely did anticipate. Yeah, the one thing I'm then at the moment pleasantly surprised, but still could bite me/Henk in the ass later on in the transfer window, is that there's actually no significant departures yet. But yeah, given these reinforcements at the wing, I believe that everyone in the club also thinks that at least one and maybe even both of Tresor and Paintsel might leave by the end of August, or I believe it's even the beginning of September. I also feel like one central defender extra could not harm them either. But apart from the striking position, I'm relatively happy so far with the business done. Fadera, we'll have to see. It's always an adaptation from a team lower in the table to a team that's hopefully going to play a role higher up in the table. Might be a tough competition for Oyen as well to get back into the fold. I'm also still really excited to see him back, and also a few of the reinforcements of last season, which so far have shown that they are more ready now than they were last season to really fight for a spot. In the likes of Castro and Galarza, to name a few already there. Big main concern, long story short, striking position, yes, is an important one.
Yeah, I think Joris's analysis was absolutely spot on there. I don't think there's a lot I can add to that. I think there's depth and quality there as well. Of course, being Genk, and the players that have come in are of, you know, with the exception of Bonsu Ba, obviously, who's still very young. Well, Fadera's still young, actually, 21. But, you know, there's quality there, proven quality there in the players that they've already come in. And, you know, 3 of the 4 of them already know the Pro League very well too. So that means there's no adaptation there for them or anything like that. They will hit the ground running pretty quickly, I suspect, should they be needed. Yeah, it's what Joris says. It's what's going to happen in the striking department, because that needs addressing, and is obviously the priority. And even if they lose 2 or 3, as Joris was saying, you know, no significant departures yet, there's enough quality and depth there, I think, to be able to absorb that. Perhaps, and I don't know what Joris is feeling about this, is maybe they're waiting just for the right moment to pull the trigger on a particular target. Obviously, Genk have money to spend, so should they need to go out and maybe pay more than they would like to for the right striker, then maybe that's what they're thinking of doing. But they'll have options. What's been interesting, I think, is that, you know, there's been no real significant link with anybody. This has all been kind of quite quiet. We've known about the links with Shamar Nicholson for a while, but they haven't really materialised into anything significant at all as of yet. So I think they're probably working their way through options, and you would imagine choosing their moment quite wisely, because of course a lot of things happen at the last minute in windows. So this may be one of those things where they're waiting for somebody else to leave elsewhere before they, you know, push the button and pick up the phone, as it were. But yeah, things generally look very good at Genk, and I would expect not only a playoff 1 position, obviously, but a strong push for the title. And Wouter Rankin's biggest challenge is going to be keeping a squad with this much depth and quality happy, which he did very well last season. So there's no reason really to expect that he can't do it again, because we know that Rankin's one of the best coaches in Belgium.
No, I have literally nothing to add on Genk. You guys have pretty much summed it up perfectly. So let's move on to the side that finished 3rd place in Union Saint-Gilloise. And it's been a busy transfer window compared to everyone else for Union. They signed Alexis McAllister's brother, Kevin McAllister, of course, announced through the Home Alone style video, because that's the only way they could possibly do that. He comes in from Argentina.
Not my favourite announcement video of the summer, by the way, that one. I thought that one was a bit underwhelming.
We'll see if maybe they can improve it later on if they make any more signings.
Let's hope Kevin isn't underwhelming.
Yeah. Interested to see kind of what he brings to the table, coming in from Argentinos Juniors. Also signed from Brann in Norway, Matthias Rasmussen. He moves from Bergen to Brussels. Charles Van Hoot swaps Bruges for Brussels. He comes from Cercle. Koki Makida's move from Kashima Antlers was made permanent. Obviously, he was already on loan at the side anyway. Freddie Layson comes in from Young PSV. Henok Teklab comes in from Preußen Münster. Quite an interesting one to watch. 24-year-old German who's also eligible to play for Eritrea as well. Elton Kabangu, he comes in from Willem II, striker, Belgian Congolese descent. And then Matthew Sorinola is back from Swansea City. A few outgoings, some big outgoings. Obviously, Teddy Tuma, that's definitely going to be a massive loss. He finally heads back to France, I guess, to prove a point. He joined Stade Reims for about 4.6 million. Ismail Kandus, he has left and gone to Ghent for about 3 million. Sieb van der Heyden as well. So the defence has been picked apart a little bit. Sieb has gone to Mallorca for 2.5 million. Surprising one to most people, Moroccan under-23 international Ousmane El Azouzi has joined Bologna in Serie A for €2 million. Must have clearly impressed a lot during the under-23s AFCON because didn't get that much game time at Union, but yeah, that one kind of came out of nowhere. Ilyas Siani, his move to Standard Liège has become permanent. Simon Odinga, he's gone back to Brighton. Job Vertessen, he's gone back to PSV. Personally, think Simon Odinga is actually going to be a big loss as well. He was fantastic for them in that kind of striking position once Dante Vanzia had left. So the side's looking quite different, guys, to what kind of we saw last year. Victor Boniface is still there, but while Union have said they want the record fee for him, no one has kind of come in yet, but there are a couple of clubs linked. Also, Alexander Blessin is now the head coach as well, with Karl Gerets having left randomly and quite surprising. But we kind of thought he would leave. We didn't think he'd leave before he had a new club to go to, but he left. And then Blessin has come in. So it's going to be an interesting time for Union, isn't it? Scott, I'll go to you first on them because some players are still there that have been quite key for them. But then you just look, you see Teddy Tuma, Sieb van der Heyden, like those two kind of, they've kind of been there over this period of time where the club has come back and fought for titles. And it feels like Teddy Tuma Union, I just thought he'd stay for so long. I thought he'd end his career there or something like that. But obviously he had that ambition to go back to France and do that. And I think they've obviously had to respect his wishes. But it's going to be strange watching them without him, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the, I suppose, great unanswered questions kind of going into the start of this season. What sort of a side are we going to see in Union Saint-Gilloise this season? Went really close to the title in the past 2 years. Some really significant players have left, as you were just saying. They've been very active, actually, in the transfer market, which should surprise nobody. The recruitment team at Union have been brilliant over the last couple of years. Well, in fact, longer than that, actually, but particularly in the last couple of years since they've returned to the Pro League and got far more things right than wrong. Precious few flops in terms of their decisions. So to have such a high turnover, it's going to be interesting to see how these players kind of, just respond to kind of going into that environment and going again. I think having a new coach obviously helps. It's a clean slate. Alexander Blessin, no stranger to Belgian football, was very, very good at Oostende. Great to have him back. I've already really enjoyed some of the press conferences and video appearances that he's made. He's refreshingly honest and witty as always, and seems to really have embraced coming into a club that's had a lot of success both on and off the pitch in the last couple of years, and continues on that upward trajectory. The off the field issue of the stadium is still unresolved, and obviously is a big bugbear because there are a lot of long-term issues there that can't really be addressed until that is settled. Not something for Alexander Blessin to worry about, obviously, but yeah, he's come in and seems to really be quite happy to be working with what are a lot of new players, so he can mould a new side, a side in his own style, if you like. He can go again and play his own Blessing ball. So it's great to have him back. Some really interesting signings in there, actually. I think Charlie Van Oot from Cercle is a really good signing. He's a player that Union have been watching for a while, I think, and would fit into an Alexander Blessin side every day of the week. He's got all of the ingredients that I think Alexander Blessin really looks for and relishes in a player. So I would expect him to do kind of quite well at Union. But yeah, the great unanswered question, can they go and do anything like they've done over the last couple of years? I think they're going to do fine this season because I trust their recruitment. Even if they can't hit the heights of the last couple of years, I think they will make a playoff one spot. Beyond that, it's very difficult to guess without seeing those kind of first 10 games or so as to how the season might pan out. But their willingness to go out and be proactive, I think, on the whole is pretty encouraging. And hopefully it works for them, because they've been one of the most entertaining sides to watch over the last couple of years, and hopefully that remains the case.
So far, it's difficult to judge the newcomers, of course, but at least I believe they have brought in good replacements. But the main question will, of course, be Boniface. Well, let's assume that he will still leave. Who will score the goals, and will they bring someone else in still? For the other positions, it seems to be more or less stable. Of course, losing their captain in Terma, and not only captain, but like real leader on the field as well. That might bring a bit more. Like, how will the group dynamic have changed? Something we never talk about enough in this kind of episodes. I do believe we covered that throughout the season quite well, but that's definitely a question mark. To quickly come back to Genk as well, that's also why I think it's really important that Genk does get a group stage in Europe this year, because the squad is actually so big that to keep everyone happy, there needs to be more rotation, and you never know when things go a bit south there. Yeah, how that turns out. Anyway, with Union, they are already in group stages. They have that going for them. The squad seems okay. Adjustment with new manager, lots of ins and outs. We'll have to see how it all pans out. The recruitment has been good over the past couple of years, but now it seems to be the moment where really a lot of players are leaving. One player I want to pick just because I got some information from him, from a colleague who writes for as a next to his job for a magazine, a football magazine here in Germany, about Münster, Preußen Münster, the former club of Henok Teklab. Then he was he was talking positive about him, that he's really impressive, that he's really fast and has a good dribble, as many wingers do, I guess. That's also he pointed out, of course, and like it's obvious. It is a big step up, of course, from the fourth division in Germany to a team that was really fighting for the title and was a quarter finalist in Europe last season. Can he make that step up as well? But anyway, some good words from my colleague Sven, so credits to him.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I'm definitely excited to see what he can bring. Not your colleague, obviously, Tech Lab, but yeah, he can give us some more insights into Preußen Münster players later in the season if we need to get some more. No, I think he's definitely one. I think from within the squad, I'm quite excited to see a bit more Casper Terho. We saw a little bit of him at the end, and he looked quite interesting. And then Cameron Puertas getting more starts, I think, would be really good, because he made good impact off the bench a couple of times last season, scoring some crucial goals. He just looks like, I love those kind of like technically sound central midfielders, and he's got that technical ability that I quite like in a midfielder. So hopefully see a little bit more of Cameron Puertas as well, obviously now with the absence of Teddy Tuma. But I think you guys are right. I think it's how the squad dynamic works without that leadership of Teddy Tuma, like who's going to step in. But they've still got people like Christian Burgess, Senna Leenan, Bart Nuku. They've got some players that will try and lead on the pitch. Anyway, let's go to another club that's had a change of leadership. Ronnie Dyler's club, Bruges. Now, I'm sure Standard fans would love to have heard that. Again, reasonably active in the transfer window. Brought in a striker, and Igor Thiago from Ludogorets for around about 7.9 million euros. Hugo Vetlesen from Bodo Glimt as well, a central midfielder, 23-year-old. Michal Skolas comes in from Lech Poznan, one we knew about before. And then they finally announced officially Victor Barbera from the Barcelona B team, who was kind of known to be coming at some point. Abakar Saleh, he's gone to Salzburg for 20 million euros. Chelsea very much involved in that transfer. Noah Lang's finally gone, and he's definitely, I'd argue, not got the big move to PSV. In my opinion, I don't think that's that big a move. I think from what he was kind of wanting over the last years, that's kind of a sideways step, in my opinion. Clinton Mata's gone to Lyon, maybe a little bit too late for Mata in terms of his prime, but very much perfect timing, I think, for Club Bruges. Carl Aaron's officially gone to Valladolid. Ruud Vormer official to Zulte Waregem. Thomas van den Koibus has made his move to Westerlo permanent. Yusuf Badji's made his move to Charleroi permanent. Sonny Lammens we've already spoken about. And then Lint Ador has joined Kortrijk on loan. In terms of the guys coming back from loan to Club Brugge that are worth talking about, obviously Maxime de Kuiper is the big one, so he's back and he's going to be playing a part, you'd assume, this season. I guess, Joris, to go to you first on this one, it's a squad that should be challenging for the title, even without all those incoming, but with those incomings, you're looking at it and you're thinking, yeah, this team should be able to challenge. And I think just before you do answer, I think in terms of where I see a gap in the squad, I think they just probably need another centre back with Silla gone, because Jack Hendry is rumoured to also be leaving as well. So then you're kind of just left with Brandon Mekela, Dedrick Boyata, and Jorne Spielers in terms of the guys that have been tried and tested. Whether they want to chuck in Joel Ordonez as well, sign him for a fair amount of money. So you'd think perhaps they were looking at this situation, but this squad looks good. And it'd be a shock to not see them right up there at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's a really well-rounded squad indeed. Also, quick disclaimer, a bit late now maybe, but like any transfer price we are naming here comes from Transfermarkt. It might not be completely accurate. It's maybe more like it's going to be in the region of, or it was an expensive one or not. So don't take us on, maybe it was not 7.9 million for Igor Thiago, but it was 6, or I don't know, but 6 plus bonuses or anything. Anyway, to cover our asses a little more. But regardless of that, like I said, well-rounded squad. Excited to see Hugo Wittlissen as well. He's really also a big name that came in. Also excited to see Eder Balanta back, although I don't believe he also will be leaving again, but as of yet, as far as I know, he's still at the club. But yeah, another one of Scott's favorites. I was thinking about putting it in the sheets. I didn't, but I will have to say it here that the main thing might indeed again be more like keep everyone happy. But I do believe that, especially on the outgoing side, there will be some moves still from players that they don't need. I believe on the left back, for example, they now have a real overload with also Mawasa coming back, the Kuiper coming back, Meyer being a really good left back already. Meyer in the Kuiper on itself is a luxury on this position. It will be interesting to see who will be starting most of the games there. Plus, they also have a young talent in Kiriani Saba there, and old head Denis Odoi. Maybe he can also fill in more, also maybe even at centre back if needed. The sad news that came from Shemsdin Talbi, youngster. I listed him here as central midfielder, but I think he can also be playing a bit more on the wing as well. But he got an ACL injury, and also Josef Bursik. That's a third goalie by now. Well, probably was going to be the second goalkeeper. Yeah, he also is out with an ACL injury, so that they have not been lucky with that, especially on a personal level. Sad to see a young talent hampered by such injuries. I have the feeling that it happens more and more actually the last few years, probably because of the demands of modern football and the focus that is needed physically as well. But yeah, that's another whole other topic. Yeah, well-rounded squad and definitely should be challenging for the title.
Yeah, I think club fans will be delighted to put last season's kind of nightmare behind them. Really, a season to forget. A new coach has come in. We know all about the spice around that. There's a certain game fixture in October, and it was the first thing when the fixtures were announced. Actually, it was the very first one I went to look for, because that's definitely one to keep an eye on. Everybody, that's going to be a proper spicy game, I suspect. Yeah, Ronnie Dyler's come into club, and I think already looks very comfortable there. I definitely expect him to push very hard for the title. I think some of these players that have come in are real quality. Look really good. Hugo Vettelson, as you were both saying, guys, I think is a particularly exciting one for me. He's been one of the most interesting signings of the summer. One of the ones I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of. Fantastic numbers in Scandinavia. If he can do anything like that here, he's going to be absolutely sensational. And I think probably has the potential to be, I'm going to go as far, hot take really early, everybody, a potential player of the season to kind of keep an eye on if he can do anything like that here in Belgium that he did in Scandinavia. But yeah, I think Ronnie Dyler coming in is going to just shift the dynamic inside club and freshen things up. And I think he will get inside players' heads and remotivate some of the players who perhaps weren't as motivated as they should be. And, injecting some of the new talent that's come in, I think is really going to help them sort of reset everything as well. That'll be what they're hoping, of course, but there's no reason to suspect that won't be the case, because pretty much everywhere he's gone, he has done that, Ronny Deila. So I expect a totally different club this coming season, and a very offensive and positive one as well.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see striker wise how they line up, because obviously, you've got Jutgla, you've now got Thiago. I don't know whether Barbara is going to get game time over them. And then Yaremchuk scored 6 goals against KFC Heist, that well-renowned provincial side. But again, he's still a factor, like getting the best out of him. Like, it's going to be really interesting. They could do with a striker that they come in being fit for the season and scoring enough goals, because it's been a while since they've had one right at the top of the scoring charts. But yeah, I think they're going to be up there, and would be very, very surprised if they weren't. And if they're not, Ronny Deila will not be there at the end of the season. I think if they're not challenging for the title, I don't think he's going to be able to stay. But I'd expect him to do quite well. Ghent, I think I tipped them to win the league last year, and obviously got it horribly wrong because it's Ghent and they just do Ghent things. But again, they've been pretty solid in the transfer window so far this summer. They brought in Tsushuri Watanabe from Kortrijk for about 3.5 million. Ismail Kandus, as well, as we already mentioned. Peter Gerkins as well. And then Perth Glory's Keegan Jelasic, 20-year-old Australian, definitely one to look out for. Darko's gone. Darko Lemajic, he's gone back to Latvia. He joins RFS. Vadis, he's gone as well. Vadis DJ Afoy, he's gone to Hajduk Split on a free. Bruno Godoy, he's gone to St. Truden for free. Suleiman Mala, kind of no surprise, he's left. Doesn't have a club at the moment. Jordan Bataka as well. Kamil Piatkoski's gone back to Salzburg. And Jens Peter Hauger, who we all thought was going to go back in January, actually made it to the end of the season. And now he's gone back to Frankfurt. Rumours coming out today that I think it's Borussia Mönchengladbach are looking at Jordan Toruna Liga, so he may not be around, but who knows by the time the season kicks off. In terms of returnees, Gianni Bruno's back but expected to leave. Same with Georgi Chakvetadze. I think, Scott, you're going to obviously go first on this one. I think they probably are looking to bring in a couple more players to kind of fill out the squad a little bit. But from the outset, again, I'm looking at this team and thinking this team should be right up there in terms of competing, because that first 11, they've got goals and they've got a very, very solid defence.
Yeah, I'm actually really liking the business that Ghent have done so far this summer. I think it's been pretty good. I think there's quality and depth there, which obviously is important. And here's the thing with Ghent. I mean, if they can avoid the sort of injury crisis that they did last season and keep this squad fit, because nobody of real significance has left yet, then Ghent could do something kind of quite interesting. It's a big if, obviously, but I just feel they're in a better place this time now than they were last year. They just need to avoid having the injury crisis that they had last season. The squad is bigger, will be a bit bigger than last season. That's a deliberate choice. I think it's also a bit pragmatic because of the injuries last season. I think they felt, well, probably we were wrong to go with, quite a slimmed down squad. Hein van Heisenberg's been talking about that kind of quite a lot. It feels that he was wrong about that. So they've taken a different approach to that this season, which I think is probably the right one. But the players that have come in, Watanabe and Kandus, Gerkins, again, all know this league, all have a bit of quality about them. Jelasic, obviously, plenty of talent there. We don't know how quickly he'll hit the ground running. If it's anything like Gift Orban, then we're going to be in for a treat. Gift is still there, of course. Up front, they're kind of spoilt for riches, actually. Orban's still there. De Poitre, who, is pretty much the utility striker now, he's still there, but still a useful player to have. Kuipers, top scorer last season, still there. Can he reproduce the goods again? No reason to suspect why not. He's got plenty of competition to keep him motivated. And of course, Gianni Bruno, who I think we're all still expecting to leave and go elsewhere, is, as of recording, still at the club. In terms of the bigger picture, again, it's worth remembering that they've now signed a deal with Flemish businessman Sam Barrow, who is a fan of the club, doesn't have a background in football, but he's going to come in and invest something in the region of 30 million euros in the club, which kind of changes the landscape a little bit. And that, you know, the club being up for sale up until recently meant that anybody really had a price as they do in football, but things are slightly more secure now that they have that new main shareholder in place, which means the pressure to sell anybody is definitely lessened. Plenty of interest in Orban, and he may well leave for a big fee yet. But even if he does, I feel there's a strong squad there to push hard in playoff one and to hopefully really go for the title. They're not making sounds like that, but I look at the squad and I think, as I was saying, if they can keep it fit and start to go on a consistent run, which, you know, wasn't something unfortunately they were able to do as often as they liked last season, then they could, emphasis on good, have a right good season again.
Well, fifth place is their place, so that's we'll see how that goes. We'll see if they do better or worse. Worse, I doubt it. I think they believe the squad is indeed good enough now. Even when I still believe Orban will leave, and I would also expect Bruno to leave anyway as well. So at least some of these strikers of this striking luxury might go. With the Patre is also still out with an injury at his Achilles tendon, and he's aging. So what can he still bring? Wouldn't expect too much from him. Also, well, still have to see, same as with Oye, to bring it again back to Henk, but like how Tissoudali now after whole season will fare. He made some appearances and even scored already in the back end of last season, but in playoff 2, which was already really Jens for the taking at that time. Interesting to see how Fofana will fare as well, how he will develop, and if he still gets a look in as well in with all these other strikers and then wingers as well there. Well, actually, that they don't really have that many wingers, but it's also a bit part of the system, I suppose. Not so heavy on the wingers with only Fofana and Tissoudali at the moment. I have put Tissoudali as winger, but of course he can also be a striker. But since they otherwise really have no wingers, I have put him there. Yeah, also have to see Castro Montes might still be leaving. Their business has not is definitely not done yet, and even if the squad is already quite big, you can't go without Van Azenbroek saying that he wants more quality and depth in his squad. But that already happens as per usual. But yeah, we'll have to see what will happen. I guess Okumu is also still rumored. So there's a lot of rumors of outgoing players which haven't materialized yet. Depending on how many and which players that will materialize, their season could look different. And of course, what they will do with whatever money they would get from that as well. But the players they have brought in, can't really say anything bad about it. Although I'm not sure if, like, especially Jirkes is like a player really for a team that wants to fight for the title. Well, I guess he's a good rotation player to have in your team anyway, though. All in all, so far, good business, but a lot of changes might still come.
Yeah, no, I think that their squad could look quite different, couldn't it? Depending on, like you said, it's kind of what happens further down the line. I guess for central midfield as well, like bringing the Gherkins, you've got a little bit of a buffer for if the starter gets injured again, or, I mean, Combs has been pretty reliable despite his age, but again, you just don't know what's going to happen to him. Hulk Saga as well, like that central area, they just always seem to pick up injuries, and even kind of like, what you said, Scott, if they can avoid injuries, then they'd be okay, but that just wasn't the case last year, and that was definitely their downfall. One side that had a great season last season, Cercle Bruges, I feel like they kind of just do the same sort of transfer business every year. Like, I feel like we obviously know how Carlos and his team operates, and you can kind of tell a lot of it kind of does seem to get done early. So they brought in 20-year-old Ecuadorian winger Alan Minder from Independiente del Valle for around about 2 million euros. So a reasonably large transfer fee, if that's what it is, for Cercle. They brought in Maxim de Lange, obviously Belgian youth international goalkeeper from Lies, on a free. So that's a good bit of business there. Niels de Velde comes in from Anderlecht Futures. And then the only Monaco loanee that we have at the moment is French/Cape Verdean Jordan Semedo, who can play at left back, or maybe as a left midfielder in their kind of 3-5-2 sort of formation. In terms of outgoings, we already talked about Charles Van Hout. He leaves to join Union. Dino Hotic, everyone knew he was off. Didn't expect him to go to Lech Poznan, though, but that's where he's ended up. Frank Canute, remember him? He's gone to Partizan Belgrade. I always felt like Frank Canute was going to be really, really good, but it didn't really work out for him with Circle. Arne Cassett's gone to Lockland Thames for 3. Then Jean Massalan, Radoslav Majecki, and David Sousa have all returned to their parent clubs. Majecki and Massalan obviously back to Monaco. Thomas Didion has obviously come the other way, but I don't know, I haven't read anything or seen anything, but I just kind of wasn't even considering him as an option for them because he went obviously to Monaco on loan. So interested to see the goalkeeping situation and where they go with for this. We know, obviously, having been into their kind of little war room, how they kind of line all these players up in terms of like where they're considered. And Paul, was it Sebastian Bruzzese is kind of considered as like more of a coach than a goalkeeper, but he's still in the books as a goalkeeper. But I guess the kind of only real hanging over moment for them, is Ueda. Like, it's expected that he will leave eventually. I think Carlos has said they want 10 million euros for him. So, I mean, that'd be almost 10 times what they spent on him last year, which would be quite incredible if they could get that sort of money. But I'm just looking at the squad and I'm thinking, yeah, it just seems like they've still got the quality that they had last year. If Ueda goes, they probably want to replace him, but it just looks pretty well set up. Maybe another central midfielder, but I think they've got a nice balance of the players that they have in there at the moment. And Van Hout didn't always play as well. So I don't know. I feel quite confident of knowing Circle and what Circle are going to bring compared to a lot of the other teams in the Pro League at the moment.
I share the concern for central midfield at the moment. I believe they could use some in the enforcement there. Yeah, Ueda most likely going to leave. I guess they still have Denki that could fill in a lot, but he might also actually, that combination worked really well. So he might be needing another partner with him. I'm not sure if Emilio Kerr is the one that would take up that role, or rather a new guy they would bring in, which is more likely. But it will be difficult, of course, to really perform at the same level or reach the same heights as last season. But I do believe they should have enough quality with them and a good manager with them that should be enough for at least a good season in mid-table. And well, with all the playoffs that are going to happen this season, we probably need to talk a little bit about that as well. I guess more towards the end of this episode. Yeah, we might see them somewhere. Well, yeah, mid-table actually, really. Like maybe, well, since there's 6 places in the playoff one again this season, maybe they might be fighting for that last spot. Even I could see that. But a lot will depend on the striking position and indeed central midfield.
Yeah, I think there's a general feeling that things at Circle are pretty settled. As Ben was getting at, there hasn't been any real reason to panic or any reason to perform major surgery on Carlos's part. And there'll be certain players who obviously they were expecting to leave anyway. So there's been no real kind of surprises for them, which is obviously something that you want to avoid. And Circle are another side that I think have proven in the last couple of years that their succession planning is pretty good. You know, they're on a right good pathway at the moment, and I think it's a case of more of the same, really. And they will hope that they can achieve the same levels of consistency and you know, try and emulate them. Obviously, that will be the target. Things there look kind of quite good. I agree with you guys. I think, you know, if they can achieve anything like they did last season, then, you know, they'll have had another extremely good season. But I think the business they've done so far has been pretty sound. The Ueda situation is an interesting one because we're all waiting to see what happens there. Like you, I suspect there's a very good chance he will be leaving if the right fee comes in. But because of their succession planning thing, I was saying, I think they will know who they want to bring in when that time comes, and if they get the fee that they want, then, you know, that gives them even more leeway there. But the recruitment, you know, has been very good recently, and again, they're one of the for me anyway, one of the best sides to watch in the Pro League. I think they play kind of exciting football. They're a good side circle, lots of good things happening there, and it'll be just really interesting to see if they can, maintain the levels of consistency that they set last year. Because remember, it is the youngest side. And I think it probably still will be. Joris can correct me if I'm wrong, actually, but one of the youngest sides in the league, and that's always exciting because that's a side that's always going to develop if they can replace, some of the names that they miss. Looking forward to having a look at Alan Minda, somebody to watch out for who's already there, of course, who was looking really, really good at certain moments towards the tail end of last season, was Jan Gaboho. He's definitely one to look out for this season. I think he's a really, really good player, and he was shown signs of really being able to kind of go up a level or two. So I'm looking forward to seeing if he can do that in the coming season. And as Joris was saying, Kevin Denke's still there, and we know how useful Kevin can be.
On that age thing, I do not have any specific numbers there, but yeah, obviously they were one of the youngest, or maybe even the youngest squad last season. They've all gotten 1 year older, but yeah. But also in their recruitment so far, the oldest player is 22. So yeah, that all the rest is 20, if I'm not mistaken. So a recruitment for youngsters, definitely here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd be shocked if they weren't still the youngest team. I mean, Hotic has gone and he was 27, so he is one of the older ones. So yeah, they've probably got younger somehow. But yeah, no, very much looking forward to watching Circle again. And yeah, you guys know I'm a massive Kevin Denke fan and believer, so I'm sure he'll do great again. Long throw-ins into the box. He just needs a new partner for Ueda goes for that long throw-in where they hit him in the chest. He plays it off to Ueda and Ueda smashes it in. But I'm sure they've worked that all out in training. Standard Liège, obviously no Ronnie Dyler, so they went and took one of Club Brugge's former coaches in Karl Hoefkens. He's been joined in standard by a couple of arrivals, lots of central midfielders actually. Hayo Kawabe, who joined Wolves and then barely played for Wolves, went out on loan. He comes in for about 1.5 million euros, give or take. Aidan O'Neill comes in from Melbourne City. Isaac Price signs on a free from Everton under 21s. Romain Mundell comes in from Tottenham's under 21s. I know that Standard and Anderlecht were battling for him. And Zeno Vandhausen is back in the building. He joins on loan from Inter, I believe, with a purchase option. In terms of outgoings, there have been a fair few, which we kind of expected. Matteo Caffaro, if you remember him, he's fully gone to St Etienne now. Goike Simrot, he's gone to Al Fayha. Nur Dusen, captain, he's gone to Lausanne. These are all for free. Abdul Tatsoba has joined Amiens on loan. Alexander Kalut has gone to Leuven, but he's already been injured quite badly, which is a real shame for him. Philip Zinkernagel back to Olympiacos. Standard did want to bring him back, but it's looking less and less likely. They also wanted to bring back Steven Azarte, but he's gone back to Brighton, and I haven't seen if he's moved on again, but again, seems unlikely he'll come back. Filippo Melagoni has gone back to Genoa. I don't think they want to bring him back, and I don't think they should bring him back, but that's just my decision and opinion. Dennis Dragos has come back from Genoa. And then, Joachim Van Dam's back as well. Not sure we'll see much of Joachim Van Dam, but hey, there you go. Joris, go to you first on this one. I guess the real question for Standard is, can Karl Hoefkens, well, the real questions, because there's more than one, can Karl Hoefkens repeat what Ronnie Dyler managed to do with them last year? And does Noah Ohio have it in him to score enough goals to be their leading striker? Because they didn't have goals in the team. Philip Zinkernagel was the goals. He's gone, and now we're all, like all the media, everyone, we're all looking at Noah Ohio and saying, it's got to be him because we don't trust any of the other strikers in this squad.
To be blunt and short answers and without any reservations, I'll say no for both, or well, all three questions there that you asked there. That's just a gut feeling answer as well, though. Difficult to judge them at the moment, to be honest. I do feel like their squad has become a bit weaker at the moment. Yeah, just it's also difficult to judge. It's the central midfield. There's a lot of changes there. They brought in a few players, but players we can't really judge, and also young players like as well with Cercle, to come back to them as well. Like this young squad age, it can be a blessing, but it can also be it can also be detrimental for a squad as if things go south. we'll have to see how they react in that such cases. A lot of players left. Not a lot of players have come in, and the players that have come in, it's really difficult to judge. So, except for Zeno van Heusden, but there we always have, it's sad to say that, but that the reason that he's again coming back, of course, solely because of the ongoing injury issues that he keeps having. Let's hope he can have a better season this season again, and be of worth for them as well. I feel like the numbers are there, the quantity is all right, but is the quality enough? And I tend to say no at the moment. And with Karel Hoefkes, I also still have to see. It's really difficult. His managerial career at Club Brugge has been so weird, especially when he was a T1 there. Is he a good coach? Is he a manager? Is he not? Is he in under such circumstances? Is he good? What are the expectations? Expectations are always there at Standard as well, but probably still given current situations and circumstances, and well, some realism even amongst the fans, a little less as than with at Club Brugge in recent years. Will he be able to cope with it and will he thrive or crumble? A lot of question marks.
Yeah, Joris, Joris has absolutely nailed that. One of the big questions of the season, what are Standard Liège going to do? I think the Joris highlighting the lack of quality, I think, is quite right. I think that is a bit of a worry. There has been, I think, it would be fair to say, probably underwhelming investment, shall we say. I remember some people really raising an eyebrow a few weeks ago when it seemed to be that the 777, the owners at Standard, said, yep, you can have 5 or 6 million to spend, which isn't going to get you very much at all. Looking at their transfer business up to now, 20th of July, when we record, you would have to say that some of the noises that Ronnie Dyler was making about, I want reassurances about investment, sorts of things he was saying, before he jumped ship to go to the club, appear to have been proven to be right. He was obviously aware that they weren't really going to open the checkbook in even a kind of modest way. I don't think they have, and that should be a continuing worry. We know what the club's model is. We know they want to try and bring through as many young players as possible from the academy longer term, which is right, and we know that they want to buy players at modest fees who can have a reasonable impact. They don't want to go out and spend big fees on quality that is might make a difference, but is going to cause them financial trouble. So there are still long-standing structural and financial issues here that the club are dealing with. But when you look at the squad today, as Joris was saying, yeah, it's difficult to look at that and get kind of too excited at the moment. I don't think they're stronger than last year. I think how their season pans out may well come down to the impact that Karl Hofkins and his T2, who's rather famous in his own right, Mr. Yaya Toure, will have on this squad. I think if they can really motivate this team, push more out of them than perhaps there actually is, like Ronnie Dyler did for a lot of last season, then they might be able to go close to a playoff one spot. But I'm not looking at this at the moment and thinking, they should be able to push hard for that. They've been very quiet actually about their overall objectives as well, which I think kind of confirms that they know where they're at the moment. Really exciting to see Zeno van Heusden back despite his injury worries, and I'm just crossing all of my fingers and toes that he can stay fit and have a really good consistent season, because he is a really promising player still, who still has much to offer. The striking issue, Joris touched on it, that's a pretty big worry. I'm a Noah Ohio fan. I like him a lot, but I haven't seen enough yet to suggest that he's going to be able to maybe go and score 15 or 20 goals, sort of, return that Standard would want from him. Romain Mundle obviously coming in, and there's a lot of expectation on young Romain Mundle's shoulders. And of course, he's made the move from English football on the promise that he'll get regular football at Standard, which I'm sure he will. If he can do well, then Standard might have a better season than we all expect at the moment. But at the moment, I have just a slightly underwhelming feeling that gives me that deja vu that we've had probably for about 3 years now. But we'll see.
Yeah, it feels like we're just kind of talking the same that we were talking last year, highlighting. But then at least last year we were saying, well, they've got Raskan, they've got Amala, so they've got that little bit of quality. But then you look at this team, you're like, I don't know. there's so many unknowns. There's the quality in Van Huysen that you guys have said, but again, the injuries are a concern. Shins Chanak, we've seen a little bit. Maybe we need to see some more. William Balaquisha was great last year. I think he was a fantastic player for them, so he's gonna still perform. But yeah, I'm kind of in the same with you guys. I'm disappointed in kind of how the lack of clear direction investment from 777 has gone, and I'm getting more and more skeptical as time goes on about how they operate, if you know what I mean. I just don't really understand what their overall goal is for standards. So we'll see. Maybe we'll be well surprised, but I have a feeling it's, top six is it. I'm not going to say it's a pipe dream for them, but I think you'd be a very glass half full kind of standard fan if that's the one of you thinking that was a possibility this year, because it's going to be tough. Let's move on to Westerlo, obviously one of the promoted sides last year. I'm slightly concerned. I was concerned about them at the end of the season, and I'm still a little bit concerned about them now, but there's still time for them to make some moves. They brought in Jordan Boss from Melbourne City to replace Maxime de Kuiper. Arthur Piedfort, he joins from Young PSV on the 3. He's a young Belgian centre-back. Thomas van der Kabus, as we already said, he joins from Club Brugge permanently, which is a good signing. And then Tuurt Lomans comes in, another young player. He joins from Young Gent. Let's get to the outgoings, though. Igor Vetakele, he's gone to Lommel. Jori de Quervi, he has gone to Houtvene in the 4th tier. I'm sure most people are like, I had no idea who that guy is from last season. Ogres Kagan Gutakin has gone to Bulaspor. Tuur Deeks, he's left the club. Kuya Mabea, he's also left the club. De Kuiper's gone back. Brian Reynolds has gone back. Douglas Nene has gone back. Nasser Chadley's gone back, but there's so many rumours about him coming back again. But then Lucas Miniero has gone back to Braga as well. Still got Jonas de Rock, though, so they've still got a very, very good manager. But I don't know, I'm looking through the side, and goal scoring is obviously the big concern. They've been linked recently with a 20-year-old Croatian striker who looks like he could be quite interesting, but again, you have to wait and see what happens there. Wingers as well, very, very young, very, very inexperienced. You're hoping that Jan Bernat can potentially come back, but I don't know, guys. I'm looking through this team. Scott, I think it's your turn to go first this time, but I'm a bit concerned, and I think they're definitely one of the teams that I've got like that kind of asterisk on that need to do more work before the end of the transfer window, because otherwise they could potentially be in a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit vulnerable. I think with a small V, I would definitely agree with you there, Ben. I think that it's interesting to hear Jonas de Rock this week saying that he himself isn't too worried. He says they've got a lot of targets, and the word he was using, patience. So there's obviously a lot of moving pieces around in the background, as there always are. It's a difficult one for them, because I think in lots of respects they arguably overachieved last season as well, which makes going into this year, puts a little bit of pressure on them probably. As you were saying, Jonas de Rock's a very good coach, and I think the owners will be relying on him to wring the best out of the players. I think there will be more movement. Obviously, we're a little bit over a week away from the season starting now, and a lot can still happen in that time. So the picture in relation to Westerlo could change a fair bit. But yeah, I think that there are some reasons to kind of be concerned, and if they don't add a few faces, then I wouldn't expect them to have as good a season as they did last year. Although they were very good at home, their home form last year was really very strong and consistent for the most part. So if they can maintain anything like that in terms of their output, then I think they'll probably have an okay season. But at the moment, I think a playoff 2 spot is probably the best that they can hope for. If they can add a little bit more before then possibly they could push a bit harder. It's getting a run going and getting some consistency going that's going to be very important for them in their confidence, I think, because they are a side who, if that doesn't happen, those basics don't fall into place, then they could get dragged into into that kind of relegation playoff if they're not careful. I don't mean to be a doomsayer about it, but looking at the squad at the moment, there is the potential for that if they can, if they can get some consistency going. But really good coach, De Rock, and the owners there have been quite good with their recruitment actually generally. So I would maybe be trustful that some names are going to come in yet that could have some impact for them. But yeah, as of the 20th of July, a week out, then some reasons for concern.
Well, only because of the not materializing yet, because maybe in 2 days' time it already changes. Like the rumors for Frigan, or this Croatian striker, he's rumored to come in for 6 million, which would quadruple their previous record transfer. And well, there's a few more rumors as well already, I believe, for a midfielder. I don't know exactly, but also for a few a million. They're also pushing still to bring Reynolds in again as well. The main thing will still be the striker, but Frigan, well, I believe for a club like Westerlo, that actually would be quite a coup to get him, and that's meant with a lot of respect for the club as well. I'm less worried than you guys, I believe, but that's also because I believe that there's a few incomings, well, really, really close to being there already as well. And of course, if nothing materializes in the end, it might go differently, but there should also be enough money just given by the rumors behind it that if need be later on in the transfer window and things change a bit with the targets, just basically based on money, which is not always a good indicator, but generally tends to be one in football as well. They should be fine for, well, I believe a playoff 2 spot. I think they would be happy with that as well. But I do not see a second season syndrome for them at the moment. Whether that's entirely up to them or to the state of other clubs as of now, that's a different question maybe as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's my opinion is going to be definitely swayed by the rest of the teams that we're going to go over later, because while I'm concerned that they may struggle, I don't think they're anywhere near being in the 4 worst teams, even if their squad stayed exactly the same as it was now. To be honest, especially with De Rock, I trust him as a coach as well to get the best out of the players that he's got at his disposal.